Hey everybody, it's Mahadev the Thunder Wizard. We are live. What is it where you are? If you're in the United States, it's Saturday the 12th of September. So we've just gone past the every 18 years, the world has to go through a massive transformation. So we've passed through that. No matter what's going to happen with the COVID scenario, no matter how long it lasts, we have passed that test, and we're still in the aftermath of how are we going to choose to take advantage of this opportunity to shift. It's really important you understand that when you're going through challenging times, you have an opportunity to shift. The easiest thing to do is just to sit on your ass and feel sorry for yourself. Anybody can do that. And I'm not judging you, because that is, it's just the easy thing to do. But if you understand that every challenge that comes your way and your choices are limited, that is good. When your choices are limited, that means that you don't have to sit around and think too hard about which direction you need to go in order to make the most of it. One real easy example is the CEO of Zoom. Once the pandemic hit, he made billions of dollars, because instead of people going to work and sitting around in desks and in offices, they had to work from home, which means a bunch of people signed up on Zoom, and he made billions of dollars overnight. That's an extreme example, but there's always going to be something there for you, but you've got to be a warrior about it. Warriors do not admit defeat. If you're admitting defeat, then you're not getting one of the main lessons that this life is here to provide you. So we're going to talk about freeing yourself from the chains of negative karma. And of course, we'll talk about things we already know. Before I go any further, the 90-day challenge. If you want to just stop the talking and just get into the action, go to the 90-day challenge and thunderwizard.com and click on, hit whatever button you need to hit to find the Warrior 90-day challenge subscription option. And give it a try for a month. I mean, I'm giving you a 90-day challenge, but just even if you do that first morning practice every day for a month, try that. If it doesn't work for you, then unsubscribe. I'll refund you your misery. Go right ahead. Anyway, we'll maybe talk about that a little bit later, but I want to get right into the question. So here's the thing. When you don't know any better, the universe will oftentimes give you a pass. But once you have the knowledge, you are then responsible for that knowledge, and you will be held responsible for it. So just the fact that I got here and said, the thing that you need to do in order to overcome challenging issues in this world is to live like a warrior. Once you have that knowledge, you're now responsible for it. If you choose not to, after I've given this information to you, and I'm going to give you a key, by the way, I'm going to give you a key to this that most people don't know, and one of the main things that people miss, which we'll get into in a moment. But when you have that key, it's going to be ridiculously simple, and you're probably going to hate me for saying it. You're going to go, oh my God, that's what he's talking about? You're not going to like it. Because what you want is you want me to do the work for you. You want me to give you the red pill or the blue pill so you can get woke, man. You want to be able to just take a pill and have it happen for you. And while it is that simple, it is that simple. It may not be something that you're expecting to hear. So you may not like it. But you are responsible now. And once I tell you the one thing that is going to change it all for you, the very simple awareness about all this, that will open the door for you to just go ahead and take action. Once you have that, you're going to be responsible for it. So if you don't want to be responsible and just take one simple action that you may or may not like, then stop watching the video now. Plenty of videos on there. Plenty of channels on there that will go and tell you how you are a victim and how they're doing it to you. And I understand. I know what that feels like. Trust me. You guys think I'm sitting here on my mountaintop and that I didn't go through hell to be where I'm at now. You're wrong. But I also learned that feeling sorry for yourself accomplishes nothing. Being angry is only good if it motivates you to take action, but staying angry accomplishes nothing. Being sad is important, and mourning and having all of your feelings is important as long as it moves you towards doing things that empower you and nurture you and change your relationship to the universe. But feeling sorry for yourself all the time accomplishes nothing. So I'm going to ask you the question I ask a lot of people right now. First off, I know there's at least one person on here, if this person who was just on responding to me, responding to their comments, if this person is still on here watching, my question to you is, do you want to win an argument with me, or do you want to be happy? Pick one. If the most important thing to you is being right and proving me wrong, then I surrender. You're right. Your life is horseshit. Your life sucks. There you go. Now stop watching and go feel sorry for yourself. If you want to be happy, then you have to be willing to accept that maybe there's some information that you're missing. Maybe you're not completely accurate in the way that you see things. And wouldn't you rather be happy than win an argument with me? Surprisingly, many people, if not most people, would rather be right than happy. So pick one. Do you want to be happy, or do you want to hold on to feeling that you know more than I do? Which is fine. I could care less. If you want to know more than me, great. If I'm wrong, then being an ignorant idiot is working for me, because I've learned how to find happiness in my life and success and health. And so even if you're right and I'm wrong, for some reason I'm stupid enough to believe that I'm happy. Wouldn't you rather be happy? I would. Being right and being correct and being, having all of the, being woke, man, and knowing about they're doing this and those people and that cabal and the beings of light and the reptilians and their and you could get a lot of pleasure even with the notion of having all of this secret information that they're trying, that feeling that you're getting away with something because you have all this info that the world doesn't have. And the truth is that this so-called secret info is everybody's got it. For instance, the word mainstream media. This is my latest thing. People who use the word mainstream media are in fact part of the mainstream media. Fox News has become the most popular and most watched television in the United States. So Fox News can no longer point fingers at the mainstream media because they're the mainstream media. So, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? All right, so let's just get into the comment here. Let's see. Where did I go? I need to be going here. Channel comments. All right. So this is from. Bear in mind, if you leave a comment on my channel that the whole world can see, I assume that you're prepared to have a dialogue. You're prepared to have me talk about it, and you're prepared to have your comment be put on display for the whole world to see. If not, don't leave a comment. The best way to interact with me, if you're new to my channel, is to ask me an honest question. I have no interest in debating you. I'm very good at knowing what your unconscious agenda is, and especially if you're in any way sort of aggressive or passive aggressive, you are asking to be torn to shreds. So I'm just giving you fair warning. That's just the way that I am. But if you ask me an honest question, I'll usually do my best to help you. Let me be really clear before I go any further. It's really important that people understand this. I come across like this asshole. I come across like this controlling, know-it-all, aggressive bully. I know that I come across that way. But what you need to understand is I have one goal. My one goal in all of what I do, everything that I teach, is to help you overcome your challenges so that you can be happy and prosperous and healthy. That's the only reason that I do this. Every time I sit down and I think about doing a video, I'm always thinking about that. Anytime that I get into it with somebody online and I start tearing them a new one, it's because I'm doing emergency surgery. We're on the battlefield. I have a limited amount of time to take care of your wound before, the Nazis come over the hill. I've got a limited amount of time to do surgery on you, which means I got to wake you up. I got to put the whatever it is, the stimulant in your heart to get you to wake up so that you can get your shit together. It's all about you. And so because I am more interested in your health and your happiness than I am in you liking me, it's okay if you don't like what I say. And it's okay if you hate my guts. If it gets in there. Because even if you're not listening, somebody else is. So I'm not here to placate your ego. I'm here to help you. So just to give you, I'm on fire today, I guess. So let's get into the comments. So this is in response to my video, The Lie of Karma and Reincarnation, Freedom from Religion. And what I share in that video is that it is a lie to keep you trapped, to keep you victimized so that people can make money off of you, steal your energy so that you will just simply be a slave to the machine of the world. The lie is that you are being punished by being born as a human. That karma is something bad that has been put upon you by God. That God is up there and said, you need to learn a lesson, so I'm going to punish you by making you a human being. And then you have this karma that you can't get under. And the word karma, of course, comes from the Vedic Hindu tradition. And even many Vedic Hindus don't have any idea what karma means. Karma, there's nothing negative about the word karma. It just means the result of your actions. That's it. It doesn't mean anything else. You can, if I go to the gym and lift weights, my muscles get bigger. That's the karma of lifting weights. If I sit around and inject heroin into my neck and and puke on myself and choke from my puke, that is the karma of injecting heroin in my neck. It's just the result of your actions. So get rid of that idea. And I introduced the idea that you choose to come here. That's a law. That is a universal law. You choose to come here and you choose to create any challenges in your life for the express purpose of the enjoyment you will get by overcoming your challenges and saying, I did it, I overcame the beast. That's the only reason that you come here. You choose to do it. Now, you may want to argue with me about it, as this person does. This person I'm going to share with you is going to argue with me about that they didn't choose to come here, that they're a victim, and that's the choice you have. If you say that you didn't choose to come here, then it means you are a victim, which means somebody else has enslaved you. If you, no matter how challenging, and I'm not trying to minimize people's challenges. There are people that are born in some really horrific challenges that I couldn't handle. So I'm not trying to say, that I know what you've gone through. But if you insist on choosing to believe that you did not choose to come here and something or somebody else did it to you, then you're screwed. You are a victim, and there is nothing that anybody can do about it. So I'm giving you a choice. You can either accept that right now, as far as you know, things are challenging, and that you chose to be here, which means that you have also built into your life the escape from your challenges, which will make you even stronger. Or you can just choose to be a victim. It's completely up to you. Whichever choice you make will determine what your life will be like. Now, if I'm right, what that means is if you've chosen to be a victim for the rest of your life, and that's it, and that's all, and you're going to argue with me about why you're special and you're a victim, then what's going to happen when you leave this life, your soul is going to be freed from the avatar and from the brain and from the software and from the history of all of the things that you think you are now, and it's going to go, man, the whole point of that challenge was so that I would realize this, and then I would do that, and then I would be king of the world, and I missed it again. All right, I guess I'm going to have to make the challenge even harder next time so that I will finally get tired of being a victim. And so if you don't start with the mindset that everything in your life is your creation and your choice, even though you don't understand why in the world you would create such challenges for yourself, if you just say to yourself, I chose to do this, which means I can figure a way out. If you don't do that, then that means next time it's going to be even worse. Do you want it to be more challenging next time? Then stop insisting that there's no hope. I know how it feels. So let's address your feelings. So I was going to get to it later, but I might as well get to it now. In the description, what did I say in the description here? In the description, I said, you have the key. And in the title, what did I say in the title? In the title, I said, new channeled information. Right, so this new information is information you might not have. And as I said in the beginning, this one thing is extremely powerful, but you're not going to like it. I'm just telling you right now, you're not going to like it. You think I'm going to tell you something about if you breathe through this nostril, and if you say this mumbo jumbo, or if you do this, or if you take this pill, that'll all go away. Nope. Here's the thing that changed everything for me. I was miserable. In fact, I was so miserable. This was when I was in my early 20s. I was so miserable, and I'm not even going to go into all the crap that I went through as a kid, but I was so miserable that my greatest fantasy, and I mean it, I sat there and I would fantasize about this. My greatest fantasy was to drive down the freeway at 60 miles an hour, and that there would be a big brick wall, that I would drive past, and I'd be going 60 miles an hour, and I'd stick my head out the window so that the brick wall would crack my head open and all the insanity would ooze out. And I thought if I could just do that, I would feel so much better. That was my highest fantasy for my life. I remember sitting there and just wondering, how the hell am I going to continue to live like this? And I finally just decided that, okay, you know what? This is as good as it gets. If this is it, let's just assume that this is as good as it gets. Now what do I do? And that changed everything. Because what that did, whether you may not hear it in that, what happened is that I decided that it didn't matter how I felt. I stopped worrying about trying to make myself feel perfect. And this is something that I run into all the time with not all, but many of my clients. And by the way, every single one of my clients, every single one of my students who has followed my directions to the letter and done it consistently, every single one of them, their lives have changed for the better. Some, I'm telling you, can't handle the success, and so they regress and they go back to their misery. Some people, they reach out to me and they start talking about how challenging it is. You think, oh God, if I just had all the money in the world and blah blah. What about all the guys that win, all the trailer trash people who win the lottery, and 5 years later, not only do they not have any money, but now they're $1 million in debt? What the hell is that all about? So you think if you get this, and if you think if you get that, you'll be okay. You think there's going to be something that's going to come along that if you had it, your feelings would be okay. And so you don't do anything until you feel good about it. When I help people realize what it is that they're supposed to do, which will bring them prosperity, because I just listen to you and I ask you questions and we together find out exactly what it is you're supposed to do that will bring you the greatest joy. You're the one that has to go do it. And many times people start doing it and start achieving it, and then they go through a lot of craziness and fear and panic and pain, and they're like, why do I feel this way? And they ask me, I can't quit my job. I can't start my own business. I can't, become a musician. I can't do this because I don't think I'm ready yet. I don't feel like I'm ready. And I say, who said you were supposed to feel anything? If you want to become Mr. Olympia, are you going to wake up one day and feel like Mr. Olympia? No, you're going to get your ass in the gym and you're going to work out every day, and you're going to sometimes work out so hard that you puke, and you're not going to feel good at all. You're going to wake up the next day, you're going to be sore as hell, you're going to be tired and still have to get up and go to work. But who told you that being Mr. Olympia was supposed to be easy? I'm not supposed to feel, until I feel good, sitting looking at the weights, until I feel strong enough to lift it. No, you just got to lift it. And this is the one thing that we don't understand, because we have been fed this lie. This lie has been designed to keep you from taking action. And that lie is you're being punished. You're here under this cloud of karma and you can't do anything, and you're a victim, and the matrix this and the government that and those people this and the alien overlords, they're doing it, and the Hillary Clinton is eating babies underneath a pizza parlor, and therefore you can't do anything in your life, and COVID is fake, and the vaccine is, and you've got all of these reasons why you can't do anything. You sit on your fucking ass, not doing a goddamn thing, but you know how to feel sorry for yourself. You've mastered that. And you've mastered coming up with excuses for why you can't have the life that you want. So my question to you is, if you are such a victim, and you heard what I said, my greatest fantasy was to crack my head open so that the insanity would ooze out. That's where I was. Why are things different for me than they are for you? Why are you so special that you can't do the same thing that I and every other person who has chosen to enjoy their life and has been successful? Why are you so special that you don't get to do that? Are you that bad that the universe has to put extra crap on top of you? Well, apparently there is one person to whom that is true. So this person responds to my video, The Lie of Karma and Reincarnation, Freedom from Religion, and this person says, I wonder why nobody seems to address the fact that learning or not, regardless, why would we choose such a boring and mundane reality to do so? Well, bear in mind, again, if you follow my channel, there's this thing called critical thinking. If you haven't, go and watch my videos on critical thinking. Because if you're not a critical thinker, then you won't even realize how much crap this person is trying to shove down my throat. This is a very manipulative question. This person is trying to wrestle me to the ground, keep me from thinking, and then trying to shove their garbage down my throat, and then under the guise of asking a question. So the assumption is that nobody addresses that fact. That's just not true. Everybody who doesn't like that video, or doesn't like me saying that you've chosen to be here and you can choose to overcome the challenges you've created, everybody says the same thing. There's nothing unique. You think you've just written something unique, like you're the first person to address this thing, where every single person who wants to feel like a victim asks the exact same question, which is, why would I choose to live such a horrible life? Now, if you're such a pussy that you don't want to talk about your life, you'll do what a lot of people do, which is you'll talk about somebody in some third world country. You'll find the worst possible scenario of some person who lives in Bangladesh or something like that, who was born, with no legs, and why would they choose to have that? I don't know. I'm not them. And neither are you. Were you born in Bangladesh with no legs? Then stop being such a pussy and using them as the reason for why your life is miserable. Talk about you. Have the balls to talk about you. Stop comparing yourself to other people. So everybody addresses that. Everybody who has the same feeling as you do says the exact same thing. So let me just destroy your narcissism there. You're not some genius that has come up with some amazing question, which is, well, if I chose to be here, why is life so miserable? No, everybody asks that same question. This person goes on to say, every lesson I have to learn, I can learn in a magical realm with supernatural and spiritual abilities and endless possibilities as well. Then why aren't you doing it? You're talking about magic and having supernatural abilities. I'm not going to argue with you. Why aren't you doing it? Because, I forgot, you're trapped. Well, you're not that powerful and magical, are you, if you're trapped? Would you like to be powerful and magical? I am. You can be also. But the first thing you have to do is drop the assumptions. So you are operating from assumptions. Let's talk about critical thinking. Everything in your life is based on an assumption, whether you realize that assumption or not. Now, most of the time, these assumptions are programmed into you. So you just operate from them as software without even realizing that they're there. That's called an unconscious assumption. So karma and the belief that karma is bad and that you are forced to be a human because there's some negative, sinful, bad mistake that you need to overcome, that is an assumption. If you agree with that assumption, then every conclusion you make after that will be based on your belief, your fact that you are a prisoner. Once you start from that, then every conclusion will be limited by the fact that you are a prisoner and you can't do anything. And if that's the case, then I agree. There's not a goddamn thing you can do. You're stuck. But if you change your assumption, then the conclusions that you make will change. My assumption is that I chose to be here. And I came to that conclusion at that same time when I told you about that my greatest fantasy in the world was to crack my head open so the insanity would ooze out, so I'd feel better. At that same time, I decided, and I didn't know anything about any of this spiritual, I didn't know anything about it. I was trying to literally keep myself from cracking my head open. I was doing everything I could to stay alive. And I came to the conclusion that everything in my life is what I've chosen. I didn't believe it to be true. I didn't know if it was true or not, but I knew that it was a helpful strategy, because I had this intuition that if I had the belief that I had the ability to determine and change my life, that's what was most important. I had no idea if it was true or not. I just chose to assume that everything from there on out was my creation, and therefore I just assumed I could figure a way out. It probably wasn't going to be easy. I assumed it was going to be very difficult and very challenging, but it was either that or crack my head open. Those were my two choices. And I wasn't ready to crack my head open. So I decided, okay, I chose to be here. If I created this, then there's a way out, and I just have to open it up. And now a whole new reality was open for me. If you don't make that conclusion, if you refuse, like this person, if you refuse to accept the possibility that you can get yourself out of your problems, if you choose not to accept that assumption, then there is no hope. You are screwed. But the moment you change your assumption from I can't do anything, I'm trapped, to new assumption, I chose to be here, that means I can choose to get myself out of it. I don't know how yet. Then there's this new opportunity that you haven't seen. You just got to go look for it. Then it becomes an adventure of looking for the way out that you've created. Totally different life. Assumptions are everything. If your assumption is wrong, then every conclusion you make from that assumption will also be wrong. So that's why I don't get into debates with people, because they want to shove their opinions down my throat. And they want to force me to accept their assumptions. That's the same thing that religious people do. If born-again Christian or a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon knocks on your door, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to introduce an assumption. And if you're not careful, you will accept their assumption, and then you're going to have to argue with them on their terms. The first thing that a Christian is going to do is going to say, did you know that Jesus died for your sins? And then they're going to prove that by pulling out the Bible, and they're going to quote John 3:16 or whatever scripture that they have. The moment that they do that and you don't stop them, you have now accepted their assumption that the Bible is somehow some kind of authoritative text on reality. Then you're going to get pulled into an argument about what the Bible really means. What did God really say? And once you do that, they own you, because they know what the Bible says. They study it. I know, because I was a born-again Christian. You know exactly what to say. You have the exact response. Well, and God said this, and if God said that, then why this and why that, and if this, then that. The if this, then that argument, it means that you've accepted somebody's assumption. So when that happens to me, I usually just close the door and say, I don't want to talk to you. But if I were, and they were to say, the Bible says this, I would say, but I don't believe the Bible. Now what? Now, the only way that they can argue with me is with common sense, and I'm going to kick their ass. I'm going to say, it doesn't make any sense to me that some guy who I don't know, you don't know him either, just because it's written in some book, you believe that some guy walked on water and changed water into wine and died on. I don't know any of that's true. You can't prove any of that. So you're going to have to convince me on something else. What is it that you guys teach? Oh, you believe I'm going to be punished just because I was born? That sounds ridiculous. I don't believe, but the Bible says, I don't care what the Bible says. That was written by people. You see what I mean? I'm not buying into their assumption. There's nothing they can say to win the argument, because common sense will destroy. The only reason that they can win is if you throw your common sense away and accept the assumption that they're shoving down your throat, which is the Bible is the Word of God. So this person wants to shove down my throat the assumption that life is boring. Says, why would we, he says, why would we choose such a boring and mundane reality? Well, you're making an assumption that life is boring and mundane for everybody. That's called narcissism. You feel that life is boring and mundane, and so therefore, because you feel that way, then everybody else has to feel that way? That's childish narcissism. You want to talk about yourself, that's a different story. Why would I choose such a boring and mundane reality for me? Well, I don't know. Let's talk about it. So stop shoving assumptions down my throat. My life isn't boring or mundane in the slightest. Then he says, every lesson I have to learn, I can learn in a magical realm. That is an assumption. How do you know that? You're obviously not in that magical realm, or you would be changing your reality. So you're not in that magical realm. How do you know that that magical realm exists? And how do you know you can? You don't know that. That's another assumption. I can learn in a magical realm with supernatural abilities. How do you know that? That's an assumption. Prove it to me. Go do something supernatural right now. Go into that magical realm and do it, and come back and prove to me that that was a real place. You can't do it. That's an assumption. It is true. I am giving you an assumption, and the assumption is that you chose to be here. Now, you don't have to believe that, but I've proven in my life that when I adopt that assumption and I take actions based on that assumption, not based on my feelings. I'm sorry that you're bored, but that's a feeling. So you're also saying that your feelings dictate everything, that you can't do anything until you have the proper feeling. That is an assumption, and that's not your fault either, because you have been born into this world. By this world, I mean this society. And our society for the last 2,000 years has been created by rich people who want to keep you a slave, and they do that by making you feel that you don't have any choices. They introduce this religion that didn't exist before, called Christianity, which was the same as Gnosticism, by the way. Gnosticism is the ultimate prison. And in this prison, you are forced to live in this bad world, and there's this good heaven, and you're in this bad world, and your physicality is bad and evil and wrong or lower vibration, and there's this demiurge, if you're a Gnostic, or there's this devil, if you're a Christian, and this negative entity is trying to keep you down. But if you could just reach through and get this, so you just have to wait till you die, which is what you're saying here. When I die, I'm going to go to a magical realm with supernatural spiritual abilities, and everything will be great. No. Your assumption is if you can leave this reality, which is your experience, that if you can leave your experience, that you'll feel better. That's an assumption. I have a different assumption. My assumption is that if you feel like crap now, and you feel like a wimpy piece of garbage now, even if you escape the matrix, or you die, or you go to heaven, guess what you're going to bring with you? You're going to bring with you all of those same feelings, and guess what? Heaven, or the matrix, or nirvana, or this magical realm with supernatural abilities, you will take those crappy feelings with you. I've experienced that. I've been in Australia for a year and a couple months now. And for the first 6 months, I was on vacation because it was such a drastic change. I went from Los Angeles to the Sunshine Coast of Australia, and I'm living, in rainforest beaches, empty, beautiful beaches in a small beach town, and it's really wonderful. But then after a while, my life kind of followed me back, all of my feelings and all of my issues. And so they showed up. They followed me here. And next thing I knew, I still had, all the problems in my mind and in my emotions that I had before I left. Give me a choice, I'd much rather, be maybe bored or depressed in beautiful semi-tropical beach conditions than trapped in Los Angeles during COVID, so I'll take it. But the same thing is true. It doesn't matter if you escape the matrix, if you find someplace else to live and to exist, you're going to still have all of your thoughts and feelings. You'll still be yourself. So let me destroy that assumption. The assumption is if you go someplace else, your shitty feelings won't follow you. And that is an assumption that I disagree with. If you believe my assumption, then you have responsibility to do what is necessary to change your internal reality. And that's where the responsibility comes in. So anyway, let me read this guy's whole thing again. I wonder why nobody seems to address the fact that learning or not, regardless, why would we choose such a boring and mundane reality to do so? Every lesson I have to learn, I can learn in a magical realm with supernatural abilities and endless possibilities. What he's saying right there is that in this reality, his lessons are hard. But if he goes someplace where there's magic and supernatural abilities, his lessons will be easy. In other words, what he's saying is he wants to go someplace where he doesn't have to learn any lessons. He thinks that supernatural and spiritual abilities will give him the ability to drop a pill, snap his fingers, and his problems will go away. So again, that's an assumption. Clearly he wants to escape. I'm not judging him because I understand what it's like to be depressed and angry and hurt and hopeless. I understand that. But do you want to complain about it or do you want to change it? I'll help you change it if you're willing to do the work. And then he says there is capital no reason to ever come back to this shithole realm void of everything. That is an assumption. There is a reason. You obviously haven't got it. You have not listened to your soul. And if you listen to your soul will tell you, no, I gave you these challenges because I wanted to give you the joy of overcoming them. That's why. There is a reason. The reason is your happiness. There's every reason. Now again, that's my assumption. You can accept or reject my assumption, but your choice is you can continue to feel like garbage and be a helpless victim, or you can choose to accept my assumption, which is, yeah, there's going to be some challenge and there's going to be some work, but you can be really happy and really successful and overcome, and you can be magical and supernatural in this realm. So I responded to him and I said, You assume that life is boring. My life isn't boring at all. So don't speak for me. I'm sorry, yours is boring, but the question is, if you did choose this life and you are bored, then perhaps there is some part of you, and I'm being nice, because, these people are so committed to being miserable that they will get angry with you when you give them something, some hope. They don't want any hope. This person lives for being a victim, lives on being angry, lives on being angry, miserable, and depressed. And he doesn't understand that there is an addiction to that. So I say, don't speak for me. I'm sorry yours is boring, but the question is, if you did choose this life and you are bored, then perhaps there's some part of you are not listening to. Don't blame life for the fact that you are making boring choices. You call this a shithole realm. Well, what if this is the magical realm you seek? And since it is magic, it manifests what you project. Meaning, you think life is horseshit, then you're going to create that. If you choose to believe that you don't have the ability in this world to be happy, then you will create a world where it will be impossible for you to be happy. If that would be magical, wouldn't you agree? So the good news is, if you are manifesting a boring shithole existence, then you have the power to manifest a magical fun realm. My life is that way. So why is it working for me and not you? Take responsibility, don't be a victim. And the big question is, why, because first you make us all into the same thing, and you say, why would we choose such a boring and mundane reality? And I'm obviously saying that's not the case for me. So why am I different than you? I live in this same reality you do. Why is my life fun and amazing and yours is boring, shithole, whatever? So I'm saying take responsibility. So he says, I may not have brought across well what I wanted to say. People are different. What do you mean? That is an assumption. Don't shove assumptions down my throat. You're trying to force feed me this idea that you're different from me. Well, obviously there are some differences about you, because you wouldn't be you if you weren't different. But it is not a foregone conclusion that you don't have the ability to be happy and I do. That is an assumption. You can't prove that to me. So he shoves another assumption down my throat. He says, people are different, and for me, this realm will always be boring and a shithole no matter what life I live. Let's just look at that for a second. He says, for me, this realm will always be boring and a shithole no matter what life I live. I agree. If you are committed to feeling miserable, then even if I give you the magical abilities you ask for, $1 million, the perfect wife, the perfect car, the perfect health, even if I give that to you, because you have made the decision that everything is shitty for you, you will shit all over that as well. So I am in full agreement with you. Then he says, I am neither a pessimist nor a victim. That's just not true. You can't say in one breath, for me, this realm will always be boring and a shithole, and then in the same breath say, I am neither a pessimist nor a victim. That is the definition of being a pessimist victim. Life will always be boring and shitty for me. Just saying that doesn't somehow make it everything you've done and said go away. So this is what we call denial. I just acknowledge this realm can never satisfy me truly. That is your assumption. And you have chosen that. Make a different choice. Now, what you're going to bump into, assuming you're willing to let go of all of the negative attention you get from me and everybody else for feeling sorry for yourself, assuming that you're willing to get rid of that, then what you're saying is it doesn't feel good right now. It's never going to feel good. And I understand that. I still go through a lot of challenges in my life, and sometimes I wake up and I am not in a happy mood, and sometimes I'm bored and I'm lonely and I'm sad and I miss my dead fiance, and I should have been a famous actor, and they did. It still comes up in me. It's not like I don't understand all that stuff. I acknowledge that and I feel that and I allow myself to feel that. But I don't carry the assumption that my feelings are always going to be the same. But it does feel like that. When you're in a crappy place, it feels like I've always felt this way and I always will feel this way. But one thing I've learned is that things can change like that, for good or for bad. Things can change instantly. And I've also learned that if I indulge in those feelings, I'll stay there. And if I choose to accept that, yeah, I'm not feeling very good today, but what can I do to change things? I have things I can do. I know that there are things I can do to change my chemistry. Easy ones are I go to the gym and I lift weights, it changes my chemistry and I become hopeful again. If I go surfing, I end up happy for 2 or 3 days afterwards. If I get up off my ass and I make videos and put energy into helping other people have better lives, I make more money and I feel better. There are things I can do to change the way that I feel. But it doesn't mean that I have to feel good to take those actions. That's one of the things that this is about here, this 90-day challenge. That is a shift. I'm going to start shifting my teaching in a new direction where we're still going to have these talks, but then I'm going to give you practical things to do. And I've already done that, but it's one thing to say, okay, here, do this and go do this meditation and go do that. It's another thing when I do it with you. And in here, I've already put down the first practice, which is the morning practice, which is the first 30 days. Get started on that. And what'll happen is when you subscribe at that level, then you get to enjoy this video here. You can probably hear me narrating it. And you just simply click play and do it with me, because this is what I do. This is a practice that I do to shift myself. And if you do it on a daily basis, it's going to change your brain chemistry. It's going to change your cellular structure. It's going to change you physically. It's going to change you energetically. It's going to change you spiritually. And this morning practice, what it does is it connects you to your soul. And so when you're connected to your soul, then you will be able to feel the positive connections towards where you're supposed to go. Now, one thing is right about my friend here, in that he's different, in that the specific things that he's supposed to do, that his soul wants for him to do, assuming it's a him, he or she, whoever, the specifics that person is supposed to do in their life is not the same as mine. That is different. But the thing that's the same is your soul has the answer to your happiness, but you have to be willing to listen to it. If you're not willing to listen to it, it means that you have chosen to accept the programming that society has given to you, because society says if you don't do what we tell you, you won't be loved, you won't be accepted, you'll be a bad person. So in order to be accepted, you buy into the bullshit idea that you're a victim. Because if I tell you you're a victim, then it's really easy for me to control you. Because then I can put you in some crappy job, and then you can just churn out all of the weapons for mass destruction, or the widgets that you can churn out all of the things that keep everybody else trapped. And you're going to be miserable, and people like that are miserable. I don't know if they still do it, but in the Soviet Union, one of the things that they would do, everybody had a job. You didn't have to worry about a job. You were given a job. But what the jobs that you were given, you'd be working, 10, 12 hours a day. And what they do is they would work you so hard that when you got home, you'd be too tired to do anything except drink and go to sleep. So it's kind of hard for people to rebel when they're so tired they can't do anything. So that's what shit jobs are all about. Sometimes you have to have a crappy job to, save up enough money to go buy the guitar and become a musician or whatever the hell it is you want to do. But most people just allow themselves to stay stuck in it because it's easy. Stay home, drink, play video games, watch porn, feel sorry for yourself, and just take the edge off and then just do it again the next day. Is that what you want? As long as you continue to accept the assumption that life for you will always be crappy, I will always be able to tell you that there's going to be some shit job out there that will keep you trapped in the matrix. But that's your choice. So he goes on to say, I'm talking about magical worlds and abilities integrated in day-to-day life, as expressed in fantasy movies or in literature in the fantasy genre. And, okay. But you obviously haven't been able to manifest that because you're complaining. You say that you can go there. Are you meaning literally that your life is that you live inside video games? That you hate this life, and so your answer to that is to play video games all day? If I take you literally, that's what you're saying? And you're going to justify to me that that's an okay life? That's magical? You're a slave to a computer program that is fantasy. This world is a fantasy. I know that because I've experienced it. You don't know that because you won't accept that assumption. Let's see. How come, with the human imagination being so far beyond the abilities of any creator source? What do you mean? That's an assumption. You now first assume that there is a creator. I never said there was. But assuming that there is a creator, you have now assumed that you have more imagination than that being. What if, assuming there's a creator, let's make that assumption, what if there's all kinds of hidden magical keys in this magical place? I mean, for me, surfing, think about that. Let me see if I can find a picture of me surfing. I know there's some somewhere, but the idea of surfing is that I go out on this flotation device, which floats me on top of this liquid medium, this huge ocean filled with all these crazy creatures. I mean, how more fantastical do you need than that? Sharks, stingrays, jellyfish, lobsters, crabs. There's all kinds of weird fish and weird stuff in there. And I'm going to paddle out onto this thing, and this water, then there's this wave. You can't see it, but there's this energy wave that is moving through the water. And this water that is flat all of a sudden rises up and has a life of its own. And I can ride this energy wave on this medium of water. And I can be, sometimes if I'm lucky enough, I'll get inside this tube where it's curling over me and I'm in. How can you get more magical than that? You haven't experienced that, so you don't know what that's like. Or if you have experienced it, you're so interested in feeling sorry for yourself that you're not taking advantage of the magic that is out there. I can walk out my door and be in rainforest with weird-looking birds that laugh at you in all different colors. And yeah, I got up off my ass and got on a plane and flew over here, and I saved money and I put myself in debt. I worked for it. I'm living that magical thing. Now, there's people all around me that don't do that. They live in this amazing place where there's rainforests and multicolored birds, and there's these weird things that hop around, and it's just this weird, totally different magical place. Warm water, all year round, but they stay stuck in their house watching television. They're no different than you. They're not aware of the magical realm that's around them. So you're obviously not aware because you've chosen to believe that life is your enemy. So that is an assumption that there's a source that doesn't have your imagination. You just haven't gone and looked for it. Almost every piece of fiction out there that can come up with more livable, interesting existences. Again, there is no movie, there's no video game that's going to be more interesting and amazing than surfing a wave. I can't think of one. What about people who climb mountains? What about people who, pick whatever your fun thing is. All I hear is you feeling sorry for yourself because you're unwilling to get up off your ass and go look for it. He says it's the opposite of being a victim. No, it is absolutely being a victim. You're being, you know, what is it? The blue pill is the blue pill where you stay in the matrix. And you remember the guy in the movie The Matrix, where he said, "I want to go back in the matrix and I want to be a movie star and I want to forget all of this." And you know, he's going to take the blue pill and they're going to put him back in the matrix. You are asking to be put in the matrix. You don't want anything real. You don't want to have to experience it. You want somebody to give you the pill so you have it, and therefore for you that is magical and real. You want to live in the matrix. I am talking as a warrior who simply acknowledges that this realm could not give me what I am. That's not what a warrior says. A victim says that. A warrior says, I can create what I want and I can get what I want. I just have to figure out how to do it. P.S. I also do not mean it as an attack on you or anyone. I don't take it as an attack, but you're coming onto my channel. You started this discussion. You didn't ask me. If you had said to me, I feel trapped, I much prefer to play video games than to live real life, I don't know how to be happy, Mahadeva, I don't feel like there's anything magical in this world, is there a way for me to experience that? If you had asked me that question, this would be a totally different conversation. But usually people pay me money for that so that I can help them with that. You don't want to do that. You want to come onto my channel and watch one video and then shove all these assumptions down my throat because you want to argue with me because I'm telling you, I'm giving you the key and you don't like it. So just because it's not an attack doesn't mean that it's not a declaration of war. Because if I chose to accept what you said, my life would turn to shit. And I'm not going to let you do that. So I'm not going to co-sign your victim horseshit for you. And I'm doing that because I'm your friend. And it's okay with me if you don't like it, and it's okay with me if your feelings hurt, and it's okay with me if you're angry. It's okay with me if you stop watching it, because other people are listening who are going to need to hear this. They feel exactly like you do, and they want a way out, and they're willing to find a way out. And so I'm happy to use you as the example of what not to do. All right? So, the thing I want you to understand, the most important thing I want you to understand here is this. It doesn't have to feel good. This guy wants to feel good all the time. He wants to get lost in a video game where he's given a false reality. Video games release all kinds of, dopamine and things in the brain which make you feel good. It's the reason why people play them. They're addicting. And they continue to extricate you further and further away from this actual video game that you have to play in order to enjoy. Yep, but you have to get up off your ass. I have to get up off my ass and go and paddle out into sometimes some, nasty waves, or I have to get up off my ass and, oh, poor me, I get to walk through rainforest and listen to the birds. I have to get up off my ass and do something about it. I have to interact with my avatar in this video game if I want to enjoy it. But the thing is that if you can accept the fact that it's okay to feel crappy, feeling bad does not mean you can't do something about it. Feeling bad doesn't mean you can't achieve everything. I use Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a great example. Go watch his videos on there about, the whatever, where he motivates you. Go watch his motivation videos. And he makes it very clear that when he was, in the gym in Venice Beach, working out and lifting all those weights and working out so hard that he's throwing up and all of that kind of stuff, he's looking around and he's seeing all these other guys and they're all at the same level. Any one of them can become Mr. Olympia. And they're all working, but he's seeing the guys over there that are, and they're feeling sorry for themselves, and they're like, it gets so hard work. And he's saying to himself, no, every rep I make, even if it's destroying me and it hurts like hell, every rep means that I'm one rep closer to becoming Mr. Olympia. He says, I love it. I love the challenge. And this is a guy who became governor of the 6th largest economy in the world, even though he looks like fucking, the Addams Family butler. He looks like some kind of, Frankenstein's zombie monster. He had spaces between his teeth. He's got a horrible accent. He can't speak English. And his goal was to become an American movie star. And he did it because he refused to accept defeat. There's no reason why none of us can do the exact same thing in whatever it is we want to do. The one thing he did right is he listened to what his soul wanted. I believe that was his soul desire, to become Mr. Olympia, become a movie star. I believe that was his soul desire. He pulled it off. He wins. Whatever else he did wrong, he did that right. What is your soul desire? If you don't know what your soul desire is, then yes, sit up on your ass, eat Cheetos and play video games, and then complain about why you will always be bored in this world. And I have no use for you. I have use for people who say, yeah, it's difficult and challenging, but I did this and I overcame this and now I have what I want. I want those people. Those people have use to me because I want to learn from them. I learned from this guy. This guy has told me what not to do. What he's taught me to do is to not make assumptions that the world is a horrible place. He's told me that do not assume that this world is boring, because I've already proven to myself that it's not. It's more magical than anything I can come up with. But he won't know that until he gets up off his ass, changes his assumptions, and then takes action towards it. So that's what this thing here is all about, the 90-day challenge. Go to thunderwizard.com, click on whatever buttons you need to find the 90-day, the Warrior 90-day challenge subscription option. Hey, you got nothing to lose. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. What have you lost? But I guarantee you, if you do that, just that morning practice, and I'm going to be adding some more stuff today. If you just do that morning practice every day for 30 days, I guarantee you your life will change. Guaranteed. And if it doesn't, then unsubscribe, and then I'll refund you your misery. You can go back and be as miserable as you want. All right, I'm happy to take any questions. This is a question and answer. If you have a question, write the word question, and then ask an honest question with a subject and a verb and an object and punctuation, so I understand what you're asking, and if I can, I will help you. Let's see, what else? Antonio A., if you have a question, write the word question, and please don't assume that I know the context. I know that you're listening to me and you write half a sentence thinking that I know what you mean. I don't. You have to write a full question in context so I know what you're talking about. You say, what about the indirect effects? Of what? I don't know what you're talking about. All right, let's see. No more. That's not a question. None of those are questions. No more questions. I don't see a question here. Nope. Hard Vader, if you have a question, write the word question, please. Are you still running K2 Mahadasha? I haven't been running K2 Mahadasha. Where did you get that? I'm actually running Jupiter Mahadasha with Rahu Antardasha. You sound so optimistic and energetic. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because Mars has been in Aries for a little while. And before, a few weeks back when Mars was stuck in Pisces, and Pisces is a water sign and Aries is Mars is fire, things were challenging, and everybody felt kind of that, felt depressed and angry and felt like they couldn't accomplish anything. If you go back a few weeks, you'll notice that you had more energy. So not knowing that I'm going to have energy for the next few weeks, now I'm releasing these new projects, and because I know once it goes back into Pisces, I'm going to want to climb into bed and watch video games and eat Cheetos. So I'm getting as much work as I can done now. I don't see any more questions here, so you know the deal. If you don't ask any questions, I got to sell you stuff. But I'll have a guest speaker on here for a few minutes, and if you have a question, now's the time to ask it. And if I can, I will go ahead and answer it for you. But let's see what does my friend here have to say. What is that? Nope, that's not it. Let's try something else here. Yep, you can stop me from putting this on by asking a question anytime. Here, let's try this. Hey there, this is Arnold. I have a very important announcement. I command you to listen to me. This is Arnold Swears He's Bigger, and I'm here to tell you something very important. You must go to thunderwizard.com YouTube channel, subscribe and hit the bell button. I command you to do this. It's the most important thing you're ever going to do in your life. If you don't listen to me now and hear me later and go and subscribe, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to shame you in front of your whole family. I'm going to go to your school and I'm going to chastise you in front of your friends. I'm going to go to your church. I'm going to stand in front of the whole congregation and I'm going to tell people how stupid you are for not going and subscribing to this channel. I tell you now, it's the most important thing you're ever going to do. You have to go and subscribe right now, otherwise my head is going to explode. Do it now, I command you. All right, so I thought I'd give you some time there. Let me just get rid of that for a second. Where'd it go? All right, get rid of that. And I don't see any questions. Nobody's popped up. No questions. Did I do it so amazingly well that you completely get it and you don't need to ask any questions about anything? All right, then I guess we're done for the day. I've done all of my business. Here's something. There's some changes that are going to slowly be introduced to the channel. So as you know, right now I've got like the lockdown package, which is going away very soon. And normally what you do is you go to courses.thunderwizard.com if you want to get all these video teaching courses that I have. I'm going to slowly take all of those and transfer those over to Patreon, the thunderwizard.com site. And instead of having to pay hundreds of dollars, for a big chunk of videos or to a video thing, I'm going to have them available for subscribers only. So then you can go and eventually there will just be huge amounts of everything, the certifications, the videos and all of that. And all you have to do is just subscribe for the month. And you won't be able to get through all of them, but if you subscribe for a month and do one or two things, if you want to unsubscribe, you can come back again and subscribe and take some more. And then that way, instead of paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for something, you can just go and they'll be available for you as long as you're subscribed. The same way the shamanism mastery course is still there. You can just go back there. As long as you're subscribed to that, you can always go and watch all those, and it'll take you a very long time to get through all those videos. So, but don't worry, if you have purchased these things, you will still have access. You own those videos, those streaming videos, and you have access to them forever. I'm not going to take that away. It's just you won't be able to click on a PayPal button and buy them, So that's coming up very soon, and I like that because that means more people, people who can't afford $300 or $400 for something, but they can afford, $50. They can go and subscribe for as long as they want and get access to as many of the videos as they want. So that's where I'm headed with that. If you have something you want to learn, you want me to teach you, you want me to talk about, go ahead and put it in the video comments section, and I will be happy to at least take a look at it. And if it's interesting to me, I'll be happy to teach it. What I really want to do, here's the thing I'm really trying to do, guys. If I was smart, I would be doing things differently. But what frustrates me is that it can sometimes take such a long time for people to get the ability to shift their life. And as my teacher says, they can't do it until they can. And until that time, your job is to continue to keep teaching until it finally sinks in and they're able to, they have the awakening and they can go do it. But I don't want you to have to wait. I want you to get it as quickly as possible. I don't want you to have to struggle. And, so like every old fart, I don't want you to have to go through what I went through. So I'm looking for those ways that I can get the information into you as deeply as possible so that you can have what you want. But for that to happen, you have to be different than my friend here on the comments section here, who refuses to accept that there is a different reality out there, who refuses to accept that there's something they can do. As long as you are addicted to feeling like shit, as long as you have chosen to be the victim. Let me explain to you again why we do this. I mean, I'm coming at you hard because this is just one tactic. One tactic is to try and, sort of shame you out of it, which works. If sometimes people go, oh my God, I don't want to be a victim. Sometimes tough love really does work for some people. Sometimes it doesn't. But the truth is that there is a payoff for everything that we do. And if you are a victim, it means that there is an unconscious payoff. What it means is that at some point in your life, somebody told you that your job was to be... For me, I had my dad was a brilliant physicist. He was absolutely, the stuff like, your car windows, there's a thing called fuzzy logic, which allowed your car windows to go down at a certain rate. My dad was the guy, who helped create that. My dad put more satellites into the atmosphere than any man alive in his time. He was instrumental in the space race and getting people to the moon and all that stuff. They're still trying to figure out his equations. He was as successful as anybody could possibly want to be. And yet, because of his programming, he was intimidated when I did anything well. If I got a blue ribbon, in school because of a spelling bee or something like that, he was intimidated. And he would get himself drunk, and then he'd sit down across from me and he'd lure me into a conversation where he made me feel like he was wanting to know about my life, and then he'd tell me about how he was so much more successful than me. And so the message was really clear. If I want my dad's love, I have to be mediocre. I can't be brilliant and, successful. And that stayed with me throughout my, at least the first half of my adulthood. That's why I didn't make it in all the things that I tried, even though everybody said I was a brilliant actor or a brilliant musician or whatever it was. I sabotaged my career because on an unconscious level, I had been given this role and I chose to play it. This person who I'm giving such a hard time has no idea that they have chosen to play a role to make somebody else feel better. They have no idea. They honestly believe that life has it in for them and life will always be boring for them. They were told that. I don't know what the scenario was. Maybe their parents were miserable. And the thing is, this is why this person has to fight with me when I make videos that say, you can have whatever you want. You just have to choose to go after it. You chose to be here. You can have and be anything you want. I'm giving you permission to be happy and be successful. And instead of just listening to that and agreeing or disagreeing, they have to leave a comment. I wonder why nobody seems to address the fact that regardless, why would we choose such a boring and mundane life? In other words, they want to talk me out of it. It's a battle. This person says it's not an attack. It absolutely is an attack because you feel I'm attacking you. Every time I say that you have the choice to live the life that you want, you have to either accept or reject that. And if you have bought into some unconscious role of being worthless or no good, or in my case, mediocre, whatever it is you've chosen to do, when somebody comes along and gives you the key out of that, if you don't take that key, then you're going to have to fight with them within yourself. You're going to have to prove them wrong, just like you want to prove me wrong. How come nobody addresses and I'm the only person who says, why would I choose to be so miserable? Yeah, everybody says that. So look at what the payoff is in for you. For me, I knew it took me many years to figure it out. My brother was 5 years older than me, and he was a bully. I mean, he used to just beat the crap out of me, and he would physically, psychologically, verbally intimidate, abuse. And I learned real quick that it was my job to feel guilty. And when my brother would abuse me, he would justify it by saying that I provoked him, which of course I never did. But I learned to tell myself that I did. I would reorder things in my head so that I would actually remember things wrong, so that I would justify that I provoked my brother to, beat me up or whatever he did. And that was the role that he gave me to play. And if I wanted his love and approval, then I had to be the guy who was the guilt. My job was to take on his guilt. So what have you been programmed to do? There is a, like I said, there's a payoff. There's an emotional payoff. The brain releases chemicals and all kinds of weird stuff to help us solidify these totally irrational things that we've chosen to be and do. So if you're miserable, ask yourself, what is the emotional payoff for me being poor, miserable, angry, alone? There's a payoff in it. And if you can find out what that is, it'll give you that much more power to discard it and accept the assumption I'm giving you, which is that you can have anything you want, but you have to listen to your soul and then go do it, no matter how challenging it is. And you don't have to feel good when you do it. Just like Arnold didn't feel good when he was getting that last rep in and his arm, felt like it was going to burn and fall off of his body, and he was puking because he was doing legs. But he had the ability to push past it. You are going to have your, puking because you're working so hard. It's going to be challenging. You're going to have to die to who you think you are, and that won't be pleasant. But those are your choices. You can either stay a victim or you can do the work to be happy and be successful. It's completely up to you. If you want my help, I will help you. The one thing I won't do is I will not co-sign your victimhood. All right, let's see if there's any more questions since all that. Nope. Let me just make sure. Am I that riveting that nobody has a question? Okay, I'm just refreshing the page here to see if I missed something. Nope, no questions. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for taking the time out to listen, and I'll see you over on thunderwizard.com site for the morning practice vid. We're going to be doing that together, okay? All right, see you guys later. Oh, question. What exactly means giving permission to feel bad? Means exactly that. Means you don't have to change your feelings. People mostly, when I say, for instance, when I help people figure out what their career is, and they'll say, okay, my career is, for example, I want to become a ballerina. And then I'll say, okay, so go do that. And they'll say, oh no, I don't think, I'm not qualified. I don't feel confident. I said, who said you're supposed to feel confident? Just go do it. No, I don't feel ready. Well, you don't have to feel anything. Just go do it. Dura Roach, question. Which aspect of Odin is the Father Christmas archetype? Who said that's an assumption? Who said that Odin is Father Christmas? That's a whole other video. I'm not talking about that today. I appreciate the question, but Frigga says there's questions. Where? Where are the questions? I answered 2 or 3 of them. A lot of comments, but I'm not seeing any questions. Nope, those are all the questions. All right, that's it for me, guys. I need to eat. I need to get some protein in my body so I can get bigger. All right, talk to you guys later.